She was preserved free from all stain of original sin and from all personal sins afterwards as a singular privilege of grace. It's always important to put that in there. It's not on her own ability or her own power. It was a singular privilege of grace. What does that mean? We'll get to that. Just stay with me, okay? So the Immaculate Conception refers to the birth or the conception of Mary in her mother's womb, being preserved free of all stain of original sin, and carries her into her life where she is preserved from all sin by a singular privilege of grace. Okay? You with me? Mm-hmm. Singular privilege of grace. We're going to come back to that. So how is this? Let's take a look at this.
So what do you do when your computer crashes? All those memories you've been storing for years are wiped out.
I had to include this. I love Our Lady of Lourdes. This is Bernadette receiving her last vision of the Holy Mother. Yeah, this is Father Dezou talking to Bernadette from this movie, The Song of Bernadette, in which he tries to explain to her what is the Immaculate Conception. And as he said, which is right, it's a singular privilege of grace because Mary was to be the mother of Jesus Christ. That's where it stems from. The reason that she has this privilege of grace is because she was going to be the mother of Jesus Christ. That's why none of us get to be free of original sin from our birth. Because that singular privilege of grace, there was only singular, one person could be the mother of Jesus Christ. Privilege. That's a privilege. Grace. It's something that God gave her. She didn't ask for it. She didn't earn it. It was nothing of her. God did this because. You have a problem with it, I say? Talk to God. You think it's unfair? You talk to God about it. God can do whatever He wants. Okay? I think we forget that from time to time. And so when He chose to come into the world, to be born like a human being, He fashioned His own mother. He made her. Yes? And when He did, He gave her all the grace that He wanted to give to her. Yep. That's why we have the Immaculate Conception. Now, of course, there are objections. Most of these objections has to do with Scripture. Your non-Catholic Christians will say, it's not a matter that God could do it or even would do it. But the Bible doesn't say this. Where do you get this from? You're making this idea up. It's not in the Bible. Proof. Where is it? Well, when evangelicals or non-Catholic Christians are asking for this, they're looking for something in the Bible that they can point to that says, oh, Mark 14:6, Jesus said, my mother was born without original sin, get over it. And you know what? You're not going to find it. So again, get over it. You're not going to find it. The closest thing that we would have to it is this verse, Luke 1:28, which says, and you all know this verse, and he came to her, who's he? Gabriel. Said to her, hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you. This should sound familiar. What is it?
Hail Mary.
The Hail Mary. Where do you think we got it from? Half of the Hail Mary is just from Luke chapter 1. The greeting Gabriel gives to her, and then the greeting Elizabeth gives to her. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. That's what Gabriel said. What did Elizabeth say? Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. The first half of the Hail Mary comes straight from the Scriptures, from two beings, one an angel, one a kinswoman, who acknowledge this great privilege that she has. Did you notice that? The angel says to her, hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Notice he doesn't say, hi, Mary, what's up? That would be a modern translation. Notice her name isn't listed here. When Gabriel met Zechariah in the temple, earlier in the temple, he called him Zechariah. He never calls her Mary. Did you notice that? He doesn't say, hi, Mary. or Hail Mary. He doesn't say that. He says, Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you. The name that you would normally say is this phrase, full of grace. Now, if we were to read this in Greek, this is what it would look like. This is the verse in Greek. Blah, 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 blah. This is where I want to start. Kyrie, that means hail. Kyrie. Kekeratomene, o choris meta sui. What in the world does that mean? Hail. This is one word that is translated here, full of grace. The Lord, Kyrios, is with you. Now we translate it as full of grace. This is the word kekeratomene. One word. This is the only place in the whole New Testament in which this word is used. What's the big deal? So what? This phrase, full of grace, is actually used again in the Gospel of John to describe Jesus. I didn't put this in here. John chapter 1. Verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. What's next?
Full of grace.
Full of grace and truth. The only two people that are described as full of grace in the whole New Testament are Jesus and Mary. The difference is, when you look at this verse in Greek, it's three separate words. Pleroma, charis. Pleroma means full or fullness. And charis means grace. So Jesus is described as one full of grace. Well, why isn't that here? Why didn't St. Luke use the same phrase that John did to describe Mary if he meant that she was full of grace like Jesus? I'm glad you asked. That means you're good Bible scholars. Kekeratomene is one word. It's in place of where the name should be. Remember, we go back to, Hi, Mary, the Lord is with you. That's what he would have or should have said, right? Instead, he uses this one word. So in other words, her name is this, Kekeratomene. Now, what in the world does that mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. In Greek, the word kekeratomene, and this is what it would be like roughly in English. Let me see, did I just, yeah, I just came right back to here so you can see it a little bit better. I just put it right here, kekeratomene. Right here, you see the X looking thing? That's a chi in Greek. A-R-I-T. That word right there, right here, is charis, or caritas, means grace. The word itself means grace. The prefix in front of it, ke, and the gender, or the gerund that it is, indicates that it is a past, progressive participle. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you are an English major, you understand that a participle is something like, in English we would say walking, running, standing. Those are all participles. Okay? If it's in the past, we would say walked, talked, stood. Okay? Progressive means it's something ongoing. Okay? Having walked, having talked, having slept, having stood. That'd probably be the closest English equivalent that we have. Something that happened in the past that continues to go. Okay? I think the closest of this in Spanish would be the imperfect tense. Yo estaba hablando. I was speaking. It's probably the closest I can think of in Spanish. Okay? A past participle that keeps going. So in Greek, what this is the word grace in the past that keeps going. Now, that's why our translators have said full of grace. It's probably the closest thing that we could get to the idea of what kakeratomene means. It means she had grace in the past, and it is continuing into the future.